What's up, everybody? Eric here with another EWE Reviews. Today I'm reviewing The Beekeeper. Before we get into that, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, let me know what you thought about this review. But yeah, guys, let's start off with The Beekeeper. Little housekeeping first. I actually did do this review last week. However, I didn't like how it came out at the end, so I decided to redo it. So that's why it took a little bit longer to get out. But yeah, guys, this is Beekeeper. This is a new Jason Statham movie. It came out. I'll give you some info. It's an action film with a rated R rating. That came out on January 12th, 2024. Its budget was around 40 million, and its box office as of February 12th, 2024 is 133.9 million. So pretty good. That's 3 times right there. A little bit over 3 times its budget. So definitely success. The director of this film is David Ayer, and if I'm not mistaken, he was the one that did the original Suicide Squad. So it's funny to start with him there, because I'm just like, you guys do realize that's not the good Suicide Squad movie that we actually liked. At least I liked. I didn't like the original one right there. A lot of slow-mos and David Ayer's original version of it. Alright, so the cast includes Jason Statham, Emily Raver-Lampton, Josh Hutcherson, Jeremy Irons, Gemma Redgrave, and Felissa Rashad. And the runtime of this film is 105 minutes. I'll talk about that in my spoiler-free section. This whole review is spoiler-free, but in my thoughts section, my bad. And I watched this in standard format, and this does not have credit scenes, so you can leave once the credits start rolling. So the basic plot, and remember, I use these plots based on the trailers, not necessarily after watching the film. It's just the trailer plot, what you see in the trailer. So one man's brutal campaign for vengeance takes national stakes after he is revealed to be the former operative of a powerful and clandestine organization known as Beekeepers. And let's now move into my thoughts on the film, because this movie is wild, guys. So let's start off with the good. The action is awesome, and in terms of fight, and a lot of this film, the closest thing I can compare this to is John Wick, the first John Wick, and it is gonna feel like a rip-off of John Wick, and we'll talk about that in a second. However, it's still a lot of fun. Like, a lot of the action scenes, you feel like, oh yeah, this is like a one-man wrecking crew. That's the main idea, and it's like, it's a lot of fun in that aspect. And the movie keeps you on the edge of your seat to figure out, like, what's coming up next. And it's like, what is he going to do? Because the movie does something where the goalpost changes a lot. And it goes very crazy of where the goalpost changes to the point where you actually get to a point in the film where you're just like, how is this going to end? Like, is it really going to that ending? And I'm, again, spoiler free, but you start feeling like, is he really going to do that? And once you get there, it's like, holy crap. It's a lot of fun. And I thought the length of the film was perfect. 105 minutes. At first, you think 105 minutes for an action film, it might sound a little bit short. However, this movie doesn't need to be that long to tell the story that it's trying to tell. So I was really happy about that length. You know, a lot of times I see all these movies that are super long. Like the last review I put out should have been Argyle. That's an action film as well, but that movie to me was a little bit too long for the story that they were telling. And it felt like it was a little bit more jumbled out in that movie, where this one feels a little bit tighter, and it feels like they were trying to tell a story, and they got that out. And the final set piece of the film, I was just like, this felt like something that you'd see in a high budget action film. And like 40 million is pretty low for a film these days. So it was like, what they were able to do with that 40 million is pretty impressive. I was actually very impressed with this final set piece of how they got everything going. It felt like something out of a John Wick, so a type of movie like that. So that was really cool. And performance-wise, I really like Jeremy Irons. He actually like sells me on a lot of the ideas of the film, the lore. It felt like you're getting a lot of that from Jeremy Irons, and he sells it really well. And I thought that was a really cool thing. It's like, oh, you have like your narrator in the film, but he's still like part of the film, and I really like how they used him. It was really cool. Let's now move on to the bad. Now, although the movie keeps you on the edge of your seat, I will say the plot, it's not the most interesting plot. It does make you feel at times like, oh, you are watching a John Wick ripoff a little bit, but stick with it. Like, I know, like, it's not great at the beginning, but just stick with it. And another thing is, and again, I'm comparing this a lot to John Wick, guys. It's like the closest movie I can compare this to. The character of Adam Clays, the Jason Statham character, they don't do enough for me to like really understand the character that much. Like, they give you his motivations, but it's so bare bones that you're like, I kind of wish they would have added a little bit more to him. But I'm thinking the reason they didn't want to give too much backstory is like they were trying to make that part of it very separate from John Wick. That was my thinking while I was watching it. Um, and then the last thing that, although I did like that they gave this Beekeeper lore, and when you watch it, you'll understand what the Beekeepers are. I wish they would have done more with it. I felt like they kind of like didn't do enough with it. I kind of wish they would have explained a little bit more of it or shown more, but they didn't. So I was like, okay. But yeah, guys, those were my thoughts on the film. This is probably going to be a short review today. Let me give you some not good nor bad thoughts. I do kind of hope this is a one-off film because I thought this worked fine for one movie. Because they didn't give enough lore, I'm not sure if this justifies them making a second film. It might get a sequel, but I'm not sure if there's enough meat on the bones right there where I think people will really be interested in watching a sequel. So we'd have to see what goes there. And I know that they did compare a lot to John Wick, and that I'm comparing a lot to John Wick, and I'm sorry for doing that. But the one thing I will say is, like, even though it might feel like it's a ripoff, I wouldn't say it's the worst ripoff of a movie that I've seen in a long. I actually would say it's just probably one of the better ripoffs where they did take good things from John Wick, and they put it in a like a movie that I thought was really good. So let's actually move on to my score, and I'm giving this a 7 out of 10 for good. This was something that a friend of mine recommended, and I was just like, oh, okay. She told me to watch, and I was like, you know what, I'll give it a shot. And when I was watching, I was like, oh yeah, this is definitely up my alley. So for me, that was like, okay, this is good. I know some outlets are probably going to give it lower, but I thought for like an action film of like this caliber, I thought this was a 7 out of 10. I definitely recommend people go watch this. I don't know, like again, I don't think it should get a sequel. I think this was a good one and done, but I could see them make a second one. So just FYI right there. But I definitely recommend people go watch. I think this is a good, fun. This would have been a movie that I think if it came out in the summer, people would have been like talking about it more. I think because it came out in January, that's probably why it's not getting as big a buzz as it probably could. But it's also not a high budget, so I'm not sure how much they want to market it. So summer probably didn't make as much sense for it. But it does make, like, for January, start of the year, I think it's a great banger for a movie. I definitely recommend people go watch this. So yeah, guys, that's this review. The next review I'm going to be doing is for American Fiction, and I'll say I really enjoyed that film. I can't wait to do that review. But yeah, guys, thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.